Hello. Today I'd like to read from the Book of Virtues edited by William Bennett. And the story I'm reading is called Baucis and Philemon. This is a Greek story. The ancient Greeks understood that the health of the community depended on how well its individual citizens treated one another. To them, Zeus, the king of the gods, was both guardian of the state and protector of human relations among civilized men. All social institutions, including family, lay in his care. Travelers in particular honored him, for he rewarded those who remembered the rules of hospitality and duties of friendship, as we see in this story in which Zeus and Hermes, Jupiter and Mercury to the Romans, seek shelter among the mortals. Once upon a time, Jupiter, in human shape, visited the land of Phrygia, and with him Mercury without his wings. They presented themselves as weary travelers at many a door, seeking rest and shelter, but found all closed, for it was late, and the inhospitable inhabitants would not rouse themselves to open for their reception. At last a small thatched cottage received them, where Baucis, the pious old dame, and her husband Philemon had grown old together. Not ashamed of their poverty, they made it endurable by moderate desires and kind dispositions. When the two guests crossed the humble threshold and bowed their heads to pass under the low door, the old man placed a seat, on which Baucis, bustling and attentive, spread a cloth, and begged them to sit down. Then she raked out the coals from the ashes, kindled a fire, and prepared some pot herbs and bacon for them. A beechen bowl was filled with warm water, that their guests might wash. While all was doing, they beguiled the time with conversation. The old woman with trembling hands set the table. One leg was shorter than the rest, but a piece of slate put under restored the level. When it was steady, she rubbed the table down with sweet-smelling herbs. Upon it she set some of chaste Minerva's olives, some cornel berries preserved in vinegar, and added radishes and cheese, with eggs lightly cooked in the ashes. The meal was served in earthen dishes, and an earthenware pitcher with wooden cups stood beside them. When all was ready, the stew, smoking hot, was set on the table. Some wine, not of the oldest, was added, and for dessert, apples and wild honey. Now while the repast proceeded, the old folks were astonished to see that the wine, as fast as it was poured out, renewed itself in the pitcher of its own accord. Struck with terror, Baucis and Philemon recognized their heavenly guests, fell on their knees, and with clasped hands implored forgiveness for their poor entertainment. There was an old goose which they kept as guardian of their humble cottage, and they bethought them to make this a sacrifice in honor of their guests. But the goose, too nimble for the old folk, with the aid of feet and wings eluded their pursuit, and at last took shelter between the gods themselves. They forbade it to be slain, and spoke these words: "We are gods. This inhospitable village shall pay a penalty of its impiety. You alone shall go free from the chastisement. Quit your house and come with us to the top of yonder hill." They hastened to obey. The country behind them was speedily sunk in a lake, only their own house left standing. While they gazed with wonder at the sight, that old house of theirs was changed. Columns took the place of the corner posts. The thatch grew yellow and appeared a gilded roof. The floors became marble. The doors were enriched with carving and ornaments of gold. Then spoke Jupiter in benign accents: "Excellent old man and woman, worthy of such a husband, speak, tell us your wishes. What favor have you to ask of us?" Philemon took counsel with Baucis a few moments, and then declared to the gods their common wish: "We ask to be priests and guardians of this thy temple, and that one and the same hour may take us both from life." Their prayer was granted. When they had attained a great age, as they stood one day before the steps of the sacred edifice and were telling the story of the place, Baucis saw Philemon begin to put forth leaves, and Philemon saw Baucis changing in a like manner. While still they exchanged parting words, a leafy crown grew over their heads. "Farewell, dear spouse," they said together, and at the same moment the bark closed over their mouths. A Turanian shepherd still shows the two trees, an oak and a linden, standing side by side.